Michael Bay just blew up any hopes of joining superhero universes. Single tear. We'll be talking about it next on Screen Junkies News. Hot off the release of the trailer for Transformers last night, outlets are releasing exclusive information from a set visit event from this past summer. As we all know, Michael Bay is king of explosions. But get ready, because he just dropped a bombshell. After being asked if he would join the superhero ranks, he told Collider that while he respects what Marvel is doing, he, quote, wouldn't want to. It's just not my thing. Going on to say, quote, the most fun is when a real director creates the world. You know, you talk to Ridley Scott. One of our favorite things is to create the world. Steven Spielberg, create the world. That is what it's about if you're gonna do something. I would just wanna do it. I would wanna redo it my way. Well, with me to discuss all things Michael Bay, we have this incredible panel. We've got Dan Murrell, Roth Cornett, and Daniel Radford. I mean, I think first, moment of silence. Michael Bay won't be in the Marvel universe, probably not the DC universe. How do we feel?
Well, first of all, I just want to note Dan's face when he heard the comparison to Ridley Scott and his favorite director, Steven Spielberg. How do you feel about that, Dan?
Create the world. Michael Bay is Michael Bay. That's just who he is. It's an interesting quote, interesting comparisons to draw to his contemporaries, Ridley Scott and Steven Spielberg, who were both predate him by about 20 years. He's going to do what he wants to do. That's one thing we know about Michael Bay is he doesn't care what you say. He's going to do what he wants.
It's 20 years, but how many Rotten Tomato points do we think it is?
More than 20.
What do we think that really is?
Way more than 20.
Well, I mean, he's also comparing himself to a number of very talented directors like Ryan Coogler, who's doing Black Panther right now, the Russo brothers, who have done such an incredible job with the Captain America franchise. I mean, Joss Whedon, king of the nerds.
Oh, and frankly, Kenneth Branagh. You know, he's saying, look, that he doesn't want to do a Marvel movie is fine, and we're going to kind of get into that. And his reasons are actually somewhat reasonable, right?
Sure.
But it is interesting to say, like, I'm a real director versus someone like a Ryan Coogler who just did one of the most well-directed movies of last year, Creed, and Kenneth Branagh and these other great directors. So it is an interesting comparison to make. Can I go off topic for a quick second?
Sure.
So I have to print a YouTube retraction at this point. Joe and I did a Transformers breakdown really late at last night when we were both tired and I was jet lagged. So we didn't notice the purple eyes on Optimus Prime. Internet, you were right. Maybe Optimus is being controlled. And second, I managed to say Knights Templar instead of Knights of the Round Table. So that lives on the internet in infamy forever.
I called Rogue One Rogue Nation when I was really tired and super hungry.
If you string together all the weird things I said last week, it would be about as long as a Transformers movie. So let's talk about this. What do you think? Danielle is a huge Marvel fan.
When you create worlds as as great and wonderful as the world of Bad Boys 2, I think that you're more than qualified to say that Kenneth Branagh doesn't know how to make a movie, I guess. That's fine. I feel like it's weird for him to say, I create the world, considering that he's made so many. He didn't create the world of Transformers. That's someone else's world that he is now playing in. So I do find it interesting to say, like, I'm a real director, and real directors create the world. But he will definitely take all that Transformers money.
I mean, I never thought I'd say this, but let's ease up on Michael Bay just a little bit here. I think I don't think he's necessarily saying that the people that make Marvel movies aren't real directors. For me, when I read that quote, he says, when a real director creates the world, he's very tactile. He's very much like, I'm going to get in it. I'm going to get in the blood and guts of it, and I'm going to be running the camera, and there's going to be huge explosions and dirt and crap flying around my movie. And so I think what he's really saying a little bit, if I'm going to parse his words a little, is when he says a real director, he just means a guy that's going to get in there and just get in the mud and the dirt and create it. Like that. That's his style. That's what he likes to do. He doesn't direct from a distance. He's definitely not managed from a distance. Like he sees himself, and he is like his movies or hate him, he's on the ground. He is in the middle of everything that he is doing.
Yeah, I've seen some behind the scenes footage of him, and it's true. I mean, listen, and I'm not here to hate on him too, because the truth about it is that a lot of people love his movies. A lot of people love his movies, the big action extravaganzas that they are, and the visual extravaganzas that they are, in the same way that you and I, Sasha, love the Fast and the Furious. You know, it's just unabashed, like, this is enjoyment for me, and this is popcorn fun
And
for me.
I'm sorry, Armageddon is fantastic. It is so mindless and stupid and super fun, and 13 hours was really surprisingly good.
And Pain and Gain.
Pain and Gain was great.
And The Rock is one of the
The Rock
best
is
action
great.
movies ever made.
Yeah.
I
So
think
my
The Rock,
God.
I'm going to say it right now, The Rock is one of the best action movies ever made, and I think the best action movie of the 90s. So it's not like the guy hasn't
Dude,
made
for
a
real.
great movie.
It's interesting, when you said it, I immediately went to Dwayne Johnson, and then I had to like
the movie The
recalibrate,
Rock.
and I had to go, all right, Nick Cage,
You're
Sean
back.
Connery, and it is,
Yes.
oh yeah. But when we talk about an auteur, you're talking about somebody who has authorship over the films that they're creating. And the truth is, like it or not, that's what Michael Bay does. I mean, Roth, you were talking earlier about the fact that, or I'm sorry, it might have been Dan, about Final Cut.
No. Yeah, because I've talked to a couple of people about this, and I think it's a little bit to the studio's chagrin. I don't know, that he does have Final Cut over his movies, and so if he wants them to be 3 hours, they are 3 hours. You know, he really is there on every single detail and every decision that's being made, and he is the one that will say what you see on screen. There is no director's cut of his movies, because the director's cut is what you're seeing. And so that's pretty rare, first of all. And second of all, you know, to his point about not wanting to do a Marvel movie, because he feels like he would have to give away that creative control, probably a lot of directors that we would love to see direct a superhero movie have the same feelings about it. So is he making a valid point? Are some of these directors that, even though we love their films, a little bit limited making superhero movies?
It's a good question. What do
Well,
you guys
we know
think?
that Joss Whedon was on Age of Ultron. He's been very candid about the fact that Marvel said, you want this in the movie? Okay, you have to put this in the movie. So, you know, that's what I think that you have to know, that that's what you're signing on for, especially with these big superhero movies, is that you're going to be, Josh Trank was essentially removed from his movie. That's what Michael Bay does not do. He doesn't do managed. He doesn't do notes. He's going to make the movie that he wants to make, like it or not. And Transformers: Age of Extinction, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, but that is 100% Michael Bay's movie. That's the movie that he wanted to make. So if you're talking about an auteur, you know, people always say Hitchcock or, you know, the people that, Lumet and all of these great directors, but the quality of a film doesn't just decide whether you're an auteur or not. And Michael Bay, for better or for worse, every movie that he makes, that is his movie.
Yeah, his
it is
stamp
shot
is
the
on
way
it.
he wants it to be shot, and it is edited the way he wants it to be edited.
Well, Danielle, I have a question for you. I mean, we're talking about auteurs, we're talking about dealing within like the Marvel system, dealing within like a Fox system. Do you think that there are certain directors who are in the superhero universe who've been able to navigate it better?
Oh, I definitely do. I think up until what happened with Age of Ultron, I think that Joss Whedon was actually doing a great job. And he would go in and he would help out with other films too. He kind of had more of a showrunner role in that one. I thought that he did amazing with that. He would probably be like my number one for who actually managed to make it work, until obviously it doesn't work. I think everyone at a certain point, you take the money until you hit your breaking point.
Well, who would we like to see take the money and hit their breaking point? What directors would you like to see not pull a Bay, but go in and become part of this universe?
Superheroes in general?
Superheroes, sure.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Marvel, I'd see a Ridley Scott Marvel movie.
I would too, and I would see a superhero movie from the guy that I think is kind of in Ridley Scott's vein right now, which is Denis Villeneuve. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Arrival is such a great film, and I think that he's a really great filmmaker, but I wouldn't want to throw him into a universe like Marvel where he's kind of constrained. I would much rather see him, in a weird way, do the good version of what Josh Trank was doing with Fantastic Four, which I still maintain that the first 2/3 of Fantastic Four they might not have been great, but they were interesting. It was an interesting way to approach a superhero film, and then the last third, when the studio stepped in and just is awful because there's just it's a disconnect.
Sure.
But I would like to see him do a superhero movie in that vein where you kind of give him the freedom to be a filmmaker and put your stamp on it.
It's funny because with Fantastic Four, I don't think that it was totally in line with those characters. And I would love to see somebody actually hit that tone better. But what was interesting about that to me was it was basically a body horror take on the superhero, which brings me to somebody who has openly said he would never be controlled by the studios, Cronenberg. But if he was able to do that version of a superhero story that was all about like the horror of your body transforming.
Oh my God.
How cool would that be?
Well, that would be amazing. But no, keep going. I'm just getting very excited about this thought. It would never happen, but it would be super cool.
It would be scary and terrifying and a totally new take on what it would be to transform into the Thing. You know, imagine that happening to your body.
Yeah.
Or Aronofsky has flirted with this forever.
Wolverine, almost, yeah.
And he was actually supposed to do Batman before Nolan, and that fell apart. But I want to see Gareth Evans of The Raid do a superhero movie. And he might.
Dude. Those would be crazy action sequences. Oh my God.
Yeah, that would be great. I still would love to see an Ava DuVernay movie. Especially, I would love to see her do one of the X-Men movies, as weird as that sounds, just because if you see like the way that she does family dynamics in Queen Sugar, I think that would be something that would be like a really interesting kind of take on the family of the X-Men, which is something that they're always talking so much about. You know, we're family and we're all in it together, so that would be who I would like to see.
It's interesting, as I think over the list of people who have directed Marvel movies, I mean, I don't think that anybody expected Jon Favreau to turn in what he turned in with Iron Man. And I think that, like, when you say a Cronenberg movie, I can see it. When you say an Ava DuVernay movie, I can see it. And the same with Denis Villeneuve. Are there any smaller directors who you think are just maybe starting to come out who need this so that they can have, like Michael Bay doesn't need a platform. Michael Bay is his platform.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna show up for anything he turns out pretty much because you know exactly what they're getting. But is there anybody who's like just coming out who you think maybe will take over some of these properties that we see for the next, 5-6 years?
Well, I have a hometown bias, which is a director. He's been making small movies for years, named Jeff Nichols. He did Shotgun Stories. He's done some great work with Michael Shannon, a movie called Take Shelter, which is one of the best performances of that decade. An amazing performance. He's got a movie out right now, Loving, which is getting a lot of Oscar buzz for its acting.
Crushed with Midnight Special.
Midnight Special, which was in its own way a superhero
Another
movie.
Michael Shannon.
Another great Michael Shannon performance, and I would love to see what he's able to do on a bigger scale. He's from Arkansas, which helps because he's a hometown hero. But yeah, and I also think that when we talk about these smaller directors getting superhero movies, people kind of roll their eyes and like, well, they would never do that. Well, let's not forget that Christopher Nolan was the guy who made Memento.
Yeah.
He was the art house director before he did Batman Begins.
I mean, he had a couple. He did Insomnia after
He did
that.
Insomnia,
Kind
right?
of like with
But he was known for these smaller, movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he did really, I think, managed to marry the two with Inception in an awesome way that I don't think that we've had again, where it was a blockbuster that was also a totally unique, original story. I'm trying to think of who I think that's like really, really on the cusp, really, really new.
Well, how about this? I'm going to give you a second to think about it. And our darling Charlie Feldman is over here on the socials. And we want to know, first of all, love the shirt. Second of all, what are people saying on social media? What do they want to see?
So first off, Future Studios 121 blew this thing wide open in that Bay has already directed a Marvel film.
What?
Transformers was a Marvel comic between 84 and 91. So just because he didn't know that about his own movies doesn't mean he hasn't done one yet.
That is so fantastic! Oh, man.
That is such a good point. How did we not catch that, Charlie?
Well
Awesome on
done.
you.
Well done, Future Studios 121. But overall, everyone, including myself in the comments, are like, yeah, that sounds good. Bay could stay away. Or Bay could do a DC film, as some cattier people in there were talking about. But
Also, too. Oh, go ahead.
Some other good suggestions in there. People like Cronenberg, people like Brad Bird maybe to come back, Edgar Wright to be wooed back if we could help it. With these.
Yeah. Oh, I always wondered what happened there.
ship has sailed. I think that he's, and I understand why. He is a very singular filmmaker, which is why I think if you have a filmmaker like that, you can't put him in one of these universes because it's those two philosophies don't mix.
Which is why you probably wouldn't have some of these. Although Cronenberg, as we were saying earlier, did direct a comic book movie. It was History of Violence, was based on a graphic novel. But, I think that's why you wouldn't have something. It's never really worked out with Aronofsky, I think for the same reason. This is not really an up-and-coming director. He's now, Damien Chazelle, I feel like, is pretty established with all of it. But can you imagine him doing something like the Fantastic Four in its bright, psychedelic glory?
That would be amazing. That'd be awesome. Danielle?
I think, and I can't think of the kid's name right now, but who's the guy that did Dope?
Yeah, his name is impossible. It's Rick Famuyiwa. Charlie! I just totally mispronounced it.
Yeah, he's been rumored to do.
I'm getting it.
Famuyiwa!
Yeah, he's been rumored to be attached to stuff, and so I would love to see him take something
Wasn't
on.
he attached to the Flash at one point?
For like a hot second.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's
And
not
he
there
was
anymore.
gone.
Yeah.
But I would love to see him actually get to take something on, because I think that just a young voice. There were some problems with Dope, but I like the fast.
I was going to say, very unpopular opinion. I totally disagree, and I hope you guys disagree. And you can tell us in the comments. Tell Danielle how wrong she is about Dope, because it's fantastic.
No, it's a great movie. It's just this guy's
Let us know who you would like to see take over a franchise. How you feel about Michael Bay's comments. You can comment below. You can tweet us at SJ News. You can always click here for more Screen Junkies news. We'll see you next time.